Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Bay Area Content Marketing Meetup. I'm Rich Schwerin, co-organizer. Do we have a special presentation for you today? If everyone could please mute themselves. Rosemary Briscoe has spent more than 25 years in B2B digital marketing across Silicon Valley, and she now guides marketing and sales teams in their AI journey. Rosemary teaches companies how to work smarter with AI, create better content, and tap into new creative possibilities. Rosemary is a long-time presenter with this meetup. She's one of the OGs. She led her first AI training session here 2 years ago in February 2023. I don't know where 2 years went, and continues to guide marketers through this new AI landscape. So thank you so much, Rosemary. Take it away.
Great. Thank you, everybody. And needless to say, I'm delighted to be here.
I'll mute everyone.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so...
Da, dar nu mi le văd și trebuie să apeși undeva, parcă ca să devină ele vizibile.
Okay, perfect. All right. So we have an action-packed agenda. The most fun part... Oh. It's going to be our hands-on section. So today what we're going to cover is I'm going to teach you what it takes to succeed in AI search by adapting your content strategy, and how to apply practical optimization techniques so that you can increase your visibility in AI responses, how to build authority that resonates with both AI and people. Our hands-on section is where you're going to come together and we're going to upscale a piece of content. So first,
Rosemary just got muted.
Right, okay. Can you hear me now? Where did I end up? All right, so what we're going to need for the hands-on session is each of you to come with a URL from your website or wherever that you would like to test using LLM upskilling techniques. And then we're going to sneak in a little bit of time to talk about leveraging schema markup. I will be giving you the slides. There's lots of detail on those slides that you'll be able to walk through that on your own. And then another really interesting thing that we're doing is Mike Ensign from Revere has given me access to some of his tools. And what they do is monitor your brand across LLM platforms. And I'm licensing his tool for one of my clients, and it's really awesome. So as you probably know, we're moving from search engines to answer engines, and people are, instead of always going to search engines now and getting the long blue links, they're now going to LLMs. And what this means for us is that we have to shift our strategy from driving clicks to establishing authority and answering questions. And, you know, the LLMs, they combine all this information from multiple sources, and they give you a single concise response. And these responses are crafted using natural language understanding to provide these direct answers. So we're going to talk a lot about how do you write in natural language for this. And the implications for your site is that you need to prioritize brand visibility in AI answers. And over the long term, I expect that we are going to see less search engine traffic. And AI is now calling for new expertise. You can see this here with Pfizer. We've now gone from job descriptions that say technical writer to Gen AI writing lead. And I don't know how many of you have applied for a job recently, but now when companies are interviewing you, they want to know how you're using AI. Because if you're not using AI, you're costing them more money. And last year, Gartner came out with this stat that said by next year, we're going to see a 25% drop in search engine traffic. And this is what's happening on my site. I get 40,000 visitors a month. And for the first time, I'm seeing a very slow increase in traffic. So this is comparing 2 time periods, the first half of last year with the last half of last year. Now, the last half of last year, you know, includes summertime, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. but I normally saw double-digit growth. So this is a big hit for me. And one of the reasons that this is important is that what we're finding is that brand websites do not do a very good job of answering questions succinctly. And that's allowed the LLMs to gain more power by being the place that people go to get those answers. And in this example, this firm called Brand Rank, they went out and asked a lot of questions relating to Coke. And what they learned that Coke did a very poor job of answering basic questions. Wikipedia did a great job. And all the LLMs also did a great job. So people have shifted when they're searching to using 7 to 8 word questions. They're saying things like, help me, find me, show me, how to, and create in their prompts. And so we have to answer those questions very succinctly. And so here's what it looks like when you ask a question that Coke that should come up first. So I asked Google and ChatGPT how many calories are in an 8-ounce of Coke. So right off the bat, I got a featured snippet with the answer. It did not give me the Coke website. In fact, the Coke website didn't come in until way down the page. And when it came in, and remember, the title tag says nutrition facts and ingredients. So this is the page that I arrived at from this link. There's just nothing on it. There was no answer to my question. But I could also go to ChatGPT, and in an instant, I could also get a single clear response. So this is the challenge we now have, is how do we address answering questions? And so now, this is so cool. So now we're seeing that these LLMs are actually driving traffic. So this is for a client. This is last year's traffic. And this is referral traffic. And referral traffic is measuring when a visitor comes from a non-search website, not organic, not direct traffic. They're coming because they've clicked on a link from another website. So what's most interesting about this is that when I looked at all referral traffic, not just LLM traffic, ChatGPT was the third from the top behind LinkedIn. So this shift is here. Now, who would like to guess where this traffic is going on the website? Anybody have a guess?
I'm amazed it's even going to the website. Like,
well, you'll now see that there are UTM parameters in ChatGPTs when they show a link. So okay, so nobody wants to guess? So the primary place that this traffic is going is to blogs. And anybody want to guess why? Because blogs are usually long, right? They've got lots of content for the AIs to pull from. Any questions before? Okay. So one of the ways you can boost your authority in LLMs is to make sure you get a page in Wikipedia. It is not an easy thing to do, but this comes from Wikipedia's own website, and it just says that they're one of the largest open corpuses of information on the internet with over 300 languages, and every LLM is trained on Wikipedia content. And the reason for that is it is coming from Wikipedia content is, let's see, it's credible content that is reviewed, peer-reviewed. So now we're moving from SEO to GEO, and GEO stands for Generative Engine Optimization. And this is where GEO goes beyond traditional SEO to optimize your content for AI comprehension and discoverability. So here's how it works. I mean, in the SEO days, and I was in SEO for decades, it was about being found by the algorithms. And, you know, we did all kinds of things with keywords and backlinks and all of that. But now GEO is about being found and understood by AIs. So at a very high level, the process really is writing in a conversational language, using question-based headings and direct answer formatting in your content. And we now have to think about voice search because it's growing rapidly. And now, I mean, people are just talking to their AI on their phone, walking down the street now and brainstorming with it. So we have, if just in case we don't get to it, slide 38, there's more information about optimizing for voice. So there's a lot of overlap between traditional SEO and AI optimization. So as I said, we used to focus on keywords and site structure and backlinks. Now we're focusing more on semantic understanding, natural language dialogue, the search intent, and schema markup plays a big part of that. And it's a lot easier than you think to implement that. And of course, there's a lot of common ground here. But I don't really think that anything we do to optimize for AI search will hurt us in our search rankings. There may be some small changes in that maybe people won't stay on a site quite as long because our answers are going to be short and more direct. But, you know, what does that really matter if they're generating leads, right? Are there any questions about this? Okay. So this means we now need to rethink our content. We need to be thorough and cover all aspects, including subtopics. And I'm going to show you how to find the best topics and subtopics. You need to show your expertise with detailed analysis and demonstrate your authority. Using data and case studies is a really great way to do that. When you use technical terms or concepts, the first time you use them, you need to explain them. And organizing your content logically is going to be really important. So this was a study that was done based on 10,000 queries across domains. And these are the 5 things, the 5 strategies that consistently outperform baseline. That's including data points and references, quotations, making sure that your content is easily read, explaining technical terms, and using a confident tone. And you know, for these citations and data points, you just have to go to Perplexity to find these things, and quotations also. It's very easy to find them there. So the whole goal is to build authority. And when you do that, here's some more great stats. So when you incorporate data-driven evidence, there's 40% more likelihood that you are going to be ranked more highly in LLMs. When you include credible quotes, it's going to increase your content reliability by up to 23%. Citing sources frequently boosts content credibility by 20%. And writing persuasively and confidently, there's claims that say there's 30% more likelihood that you will rank. So just to break this down really quickly, logical structure, you start the page with the main ideas, you go to subtopics and then details. You organize it logically. Right time, right place means that you match the content to what the users want, make it informative, easy to understand and useful, break it down into digestible parts, which makes it perfect for social sharing also. And this improves recall by 50% with bullet points. And you have to make it look great. And using white space really helps. And when you do that, you increase readability by 30%. So topic clustering. What this means is that you want to identify the key themes for clear summaries. And so in this example, you can see that in the examples I'm going to show you, it's for a major pulp and paper manufacturing company in Asia. And so this would be some of their related topics. And you want to, it's going to be critical to structure your content to enhance content recognition and connecting concepts to strengthen that topic. So when you talk about this and then you talk about renewable resources, that further just strengthens this. The fastest way to get topics and subtopics, and I love this, is that you go to the search engine, you go to Google, you type in your search engine phrase. So in this example, I typed in sustainable pulp and paper manufacturing. And then what I did was I scraped those results, just copy pasted, I dropped them into Claude and I asked these questions. So I wrote a detailed prompt that looks like this. And you'll have access to this when you get this deck. And then this is the output that I got from Claude. So this showed me based on 100 results in the search engines. And it's only looking at the content it can see on the page. It's not going through and looking at the links. It's not following the links. So this just gave me a wonderful list of topics and subtopics that I could talk about on one or multiple pages. Anybody have any questions about that? Bob?
Yes, I do have a question.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Are there, we have SEO tools that score the content to kind of show how it ranks. Are there now tools that are scoring for GEO?
Haven't seen any. Brian, have you seen any?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question as well on the issue of topics and subtopics. I know with SEO, sometimes there's a benefit of categorizing the subcategories. Is there that same benefit with GEO?
Can you give me an example? What do you mean?
Like, for example, under health coaching, if I were to talk about, mindset and have a slug where like I have a series of blog posts specifically devoted to mindset, is there any advantage from a GEO perspective of categorizing all those blog posts within the slug of, /mindset, for example?
I'm not sure that it looks at the URL. Mike, does it look at the URL? You're on mute, Mike. Okay.
Sorry about that, Rosemary. What was the question?
The question is it looking at, is the AI reading the URL and using what's in the URL as
Yes.
part? It
Yeah.
is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I mean, what we're also finding is, in addition to Wikipedia, these authoritative and evaluative websites are really frequently used by the LLMs.
Thank you. All right. So the other thing is allowing you to connect with every reader. So I'm using a tool called Screaming Frog. And what it does is it crawls a website. And it has a feature in it that allows you to look at the readability scores for every page of content. And what I'm finding is that in this one case for this client, more than half of all their web pages were very hard or hard to read. So we have to look at those pages and say, how can we make that easier to read for people? Because, if you're a global site and you have people who have English as a second language, you want to address all of that. Yes, Sharon.
Thanks for taking my question. This is fantastic. I'm curious about the question that you had to Claude. You prompted it to deliver a whole range of topics in logical progression. Very briefly, what was the prompt?
Okay, so the prompt, this is the prompt. Let me just pull that up. It's a long prompt, okay? So I'm giving it its steps. I'm asking it to rank the topics, the main topics, the subtopics, and to do keyword analysis on what it sees. I'm asking it to give me 3 to 5 topics to focus on, the keywords, and so on. So I've written a pretty long prompt to get to that information. But, you know, you write the prompt and then you can reuse that prompt over and over again, right? And if you don't know how to write the prompt, you simply just ask ChatGPT how to write a prompt, how to write the best prompt to do this task, and you describe the task.
Fantastic. That's great. I know that, but I needed to hear it again. So thank you.
Great. Rosemary, it looks like Donovan has a question.
Hi,
Donovan,
Donovan.
you want to come on mute?
Real quick on the is that a readability score like the Fleshman-Kincaid, or what is that?
It's Fleshman, yeah,
Okay.
right. And so now Screaming Frog, you know, it gives you that, but it also, you can connect it to ChatGPT, Gemini. You can get a summary of the page in your Screaming Frog output. It's very cool. So here's a quick example for my pulp and paper product client, where we took one of their pages, a key page on their site, which, as you can see, it's a wall of text. And, you know, we just did a really simple improvement to make this more user-friendly, better for LLMs, use bullet points, subheadings, and so on. So this is an example of a product description the way we would have done it in our SEO focus days. And there's still nothing wrong with this format for product descriptions. But there's other ways to look at how to do this, to upscale it a bit for LLMs. So in this example, I took this description and I made a richer description, giving it everything that I want to be associated with this product: recyclable, eco-friendly, 100% renewable fibers. Even though it's here, it's now giving it to us in a conversational way. And then this is the long form version. And what I've done here is, you know, lots of subheads, links to related articles, and this is quite long. So this is a way that you can get a lot more content on a page by using these tools. So there's always a balance between short and long form. I think the one thing to remember is that when you're using short form, especially bullets, it really limits the ability of the AI to analyze the text. And when you use long form or even short long form, you then have more text for it to pull from. Somebody has their hand up?
Yeah,
Don.
quick question. And this is going to be kind of funny. Are any of these LLMs penalizing us for making LLM writing? I mean, using LLMs to write our content, or?
Well, certainly search engines don't do that. I
Okay.
don't know, how would we know if an LLM was punishing us? And actually, you know, an LLM, I can't imagine how it could possibly do that.
Yeah, just curious if there was, you know, because it was kind of a thing I thought for Google for a bit there, but okay.
So they have already, Google has already publicly said that they don't penalize you for using AI to create content, as long as it's not, you're not spamming the engines, right?
Great, thanks.
So here's another quick example. So for this client, this is their entire vision statement on their website. It's really, really short. If you came here, would you really know enough about the company? So in this longer form version, it does a lot of things. It explains the how and why with examples. So we still have, in this first section here, we still have a short form vision statement that they can use. But if that page had been longer and included all this information, it would have answered these questions by how they meet their vision, right, of protecting the planet and serving customers. And it's all done in a conversational tone. It includes keywords, and it's really easy to scan. And another thing we looked at was, you know, lots of people use a lot of images, and even though LLMs can access images, is that the best user experience? It's poor on mobile. It lacks translation-friendly format in most cases. So as just a simple refresh for them for that page, we took the content that they gave us. We still have all the numbers, but now we're associating the numbers with other things, with its economic growth and increasing earnings for families and so on. And also allowed, having the longer format also gave us the ability to have more calls to action in the content, right? We're still using all the same numbers that are there. We're just expanding on the text. All right, so now, okay, now the breakout session. So here's what I'd like everyone to do. If you brought a URL from your website or wherever, I'm going to put this in the chat. Oh God, 93. All right, so I've just put this URL in the chat. And I'm going to show you how this works. So what we're going to do is you need to be logged into ChatGPT, a paid or free account. I'm going to take you to my custom GPT, and I'm going to take a URL, and Liz, it's from Gen AI Insights. And you're going to just quickly answer these questions and watch what happens with the output. So let me just give you an example of how this works. And this is your task. And then we're going to come back, and Brian Piper is going to talk about his results. Okay, so this is the custom GPT. The reason I don't put these in the store is because they do not always do everything that they're supposed to do. And so I'm giving you that guidance right off the bat. So the page we're taking looks like this. Okay, so this is the page we're taking. I mean, you know, it looks fine, right? It's broken down bullet points, it's got calls to action and so on, right? But the question is it really focused on users, right? And conversational. So let me show you how this works. The first thing you do is you take the URL when you get to this tool, and you drop it in there. And it's going to come back and ask you some questions. What the primary objective of the page is. I mean, you can just give very short answers. Is it to educate, sell, persuade? Who's the target audience? You can just give short answers if you wish. If you don't know what the top keywords are, you just say you pick the keywords, okay? Any important topics and subtopics, any content requirements about the length or whatever. And if you have any competitor examples, it's always great to have that.
Rosemary,
So,
do we need to put the answers in numerical order? Number one,
no,
number two?
no. Well, and the way I do this is I just open up a notepad and I put everything in the notepad, and then I can just copy and paste it. So it doesn't matter how you put that in. You don't, I mean, you could say one, it doesn't really matter. It really figures it out. So after I've answered these questions, and I'll show you how I've answered them. This is a company service page. We want to inform and generate leads for this service. This is the audience, CIOs, product managers, AI ethics officers, and so on. I'm looking for about 1,000 words written in a conversational tone, showing benefits and a high reading level. Obviously, because these are senior people, high reading level is fine. You actually don't have to put in all this, because when I wrote the instructions for the LLM, I put in a lot of this information about format. I'm telling it to pick, well, I think I also gave it keywords. So I'm asking it to pick the keywords even though I picked my own. So now we watch what it does. So first of all, it's going to give you a quick summary. So I have written this so that it opens up what we call a canvas. And the nice thing about the canvas is I can interact with this canvas. I can change content right in this. Okay, so I'm going to just let it finish so you see what it looks like. And once again, this is first draft. We always need a writer, an editor, because, you know, editors are needed to make sure that we're on brand and everything. I probably shouldn't have said 1,000 words, but you can see it's doing questions. It's got a call to action, more questions here. So it's interspersing questions with non-question headings. So what it hasn't done yet is it hasn't written the FAQs or the FAQ schema. Okay, so I'd like to give everybody a few minutes, 5 minutes, to go and try that on your own. So if anybody has any questions, just let me know. Otherwise, you can just work away.
Rosemary,
Yes.
well, real quick, while people are working, I want to roll back. I'm trying to keep up with all the questions in the chat. Earlier from Alex, Rosemary, does this also mean that we should be doing more long form blogs, FAQs, glossaries, etc.? I think you've answered that. I just don't want to miss that.
Yeah, so the FAQs can go right on the page. There are 2 ways to do FAQs. One is on the page and one is in schema markup. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to say to this guy, where is my FAQ?
And sorry if I interrupted someone with a question, either raise your hand or come off mute or chat.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Rosemary. Great job so far. You don't have to answer it now. You can answer it later if it's more appropriate. But I want to go back to your comment about blogs being sort of the top source that's found. You mentioned Wikipedia, and probably it's out of scope or range for most of us. How about some of the other ones that LinkedIn folks generally use? Top one I've seen is, for example, Medium. Secondly, well down the list would be something like Substack. Are you aware whether they allow such, call it scraping for the purpose of this question?
I think we'll ask Mike. So let me just introduce Mike. Mike Ensign is the CEO of Revere, and we're going to show his brand management tools at the end. So he has a lot more background about how the LLMs work in the back end. So Mike, do you want to answer that question if you can?
Well, yeah, in terms of data, there's 2 different types of functionality provided by an LLM. One is their databases and their trained databases, and stuff like Medium and things like that most likely are not in those databases, but they also use real-time search and things like that. And if the publications provide access to that by the chatbots, it will be utilized. It's an interesting thing in the industry, though, right now, is some publications are providing access, others are not. And then the other thing that's happening is that the LLMs are starting to license content from the publication companies and stuff like that. And so you'll actually have particular LLMs prioritize content based on what's been licensed.
Thanks, Mike. I'm actually very familiar with all the subjects. I wanted to kind of go to practical use, and I was wondering if you had a list of blogs that LinkedIn posters use more specifically. Have you found that during that ChatGPT search basically is changing the world?
Yes.
The numbers are massive. So the question is if somebody used ChatGPT search, do you know blog sites that it can or will search to that haven't been blocked? That's kind of question.
Actually, using our product, we can discover that. I don't have offhand lists, but that's something using our product that we'll get into that we can discover.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to turn this over now to Brian Piper, and he's going to walk us through his results.
Sharon, can your question wait, or do you want to jump in before we go to Brian?
Sharon, go ahead. Yeah.
Quick question. So, this is generic content that doesn't reflect like my expertise. Is there a way to inject content you've already created into your GPT?
Well, you could add that into your GPT. Yes, you could. But this is, you'd have to build your own to do that, right?
Okay.
Okay, so Brian, are you ready to take over?
You bet.
Let's see, I'll stop sharing so he can share his results.
Excellent. So yeah, when Rosemary reached out to me with this, told me about this GPT, I said, I'm definitely interested in trying this. We do a lot of content optimization at the university. We're always looking for ways to get more traffic and increase our rankings on our content. So this is one of our highest performing pages overall, mostly because we have captured a lot of the featured snippets. And we actually have rewritten several pieces of this content already. Like the title is, was rewritten to specifically target a variety of different featured snippets that we had opportunities for. And since we've been looking at, optimizing for featured snippets for so long, these are like the people also ask questions and things like that you'll see in Google results. We're seeing that a lot of those are being used in AI search results because they ask a question and they give a short answer with a lot more long form content around that. So now we're really leaning into capturing featured snippets. And we know that this story is being accessed by primarily high school students who are doing reports about World War I. So we want them, they're our prospective audience, so we want them to access our content. So I actually am using the version that I already ran, so I'm not running it real time. But basically, I just threw the URL in there, and then it came back and asked those questions. I gave it the results of the questions, the answers to all of those questions, and then it went through, prepared the summary, figured out what search terms to target, which are some of the same ones that we target when we're optimizing using SEMrush or one of those other tools. Looked at our audiences, looked at the key areas, and then I love the canvas mode because it splits everything up like this. So I liked how the new structure is very focused on featured snippets. It's questions followed by bulletized or numbered answers. Very easy to have those targeted for search within AI, within search engines. Lots of questions and answers right along, which are ways that people search these days. And then also had all the FAQs. And then I love that it gave the schema markup right there for the FAQs, because if AI is crawling your website, it is looking for anything that helps it know and understand what kind of content this is. And schema markup is a great way to do that. And then it recommends different titles and descriptions. So there were some great things in here. We're probably going to add extra sections at the bottom of the current article to include some of these recommendations. So it was very helpful.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions before we move on in the last 15 minutes?
Yes, I have a question. So this content seems to be very top funnel, like what is and how do you and why, so and so. But how does it work with like mid or bottom funnel that are more complicated questions or headlines?
So you can feed that in your content. You can tell it what you're looking for in that section about what's the tone, what do you want to talk about, right? So the more detail you give it in the instructions, the better your results. So you just have to keep trying to change your input to see what you get out of it. And you could also, because it comes back as a canvas, you can type in your own things. You can prompt it in the canvas to expand on a section. Okay, so you just have to move along here. So this is my content refresh workflow. So the first thing is I do my research. I look at topics and content. I analyze competitors, get keywords, and look at what my content gaps. I then run my GPT. I give it a lot of information, a lot more than I just gave it for GA Insights page. I go to Perplexity and I get data points, facts and other sources, so I can, and also so that I can find unique angles to write about. And then I really like Claude because I like its tone. So I always take everything and put it in Claude to refine it and do a sentiment analysis. And then it goes to the writer. And we always need writers because machines analyze and writers tell stories. So I'm going to, this is the process I go when I'm doing a refresh. We first start with an audit. It takes about a month. We move on to content optimization, depending on how large your site is and how many people have to be involved, 2 to 3 months. The technical part, that actually is done at the same time as content optimization, but it depends on how your organization works, and then monitoring. So I'm just going to quickly jump to the monitoring section, and then we will spend the last part on the technical. So I'm licensing this product for brand monitoring for one of my clients. I believe these tools like this, like Revere, are really going to be the next Google Analytics, right? Because we have to understand, and it's too hard just using running individual searches to understand how the LLMs see your brand. So in this case, we're looking at Trader Joe's and how it appears in LLMs. So in this case, it gave us first the brand snippets. So that's just picking up pieces of text that it's found, and it's giving it to you based on, Gemini, Claude, Llama, and Perplexity. And then it looks at the themes, which I think is really cool. So, here it's telling us that it's affordable, unique, friendly, and organic. I think somewhere it says it's quirky, which I liked. And then it spotlights positives and negatives. And the reason that this is so important is it allows you to write to these strengths that you have. And, if the store is crowded, then you're talking about how popular it is, right? So this is really useful. I found with my client that they really like to see this. And the first thing they said was, well, this is actually right. Now what do we do about it? So this gives you an opportunity to see what the brand attributes are of your brand in LLMs. It further goes and shows brand perception across competitors, and it's ranked those. So you can tell in this example that Costco leads in trust, value, brand affinity, and quality. And of course, it's a big brand. And Trader Joe's is brand affinity, customer centricity, and quality. Mike, you can just chime in here if you want to just expand on anything.
Yeah, so just a little bit about Brand Lumineer. Basically, it is a brand analytics measurement and monitoring product. So we can take any brand in the world and actually provide information around how it's represented by any of the large language models. We actually score brands against competitors. We also discover the key sources that LLMs utilize when actually making their representation. And then we also track that over time. And Rosemary's been a great partner in this and has found it useful for some of her customers. And we're just excited about what we're doing at Revere.
So the other nice thing is it gives you what the brand reach is and what your brand score is so that you can look at it against competitors. Basically, reach is looking at, how frequently your brand appears across LLMs. And sentiment reflects whether it's positive or negative. And sorry, Mike, I just have to move fast.
That's great.
So another great report is purchase criteria, comparing that against your competitors. And you can see areas where Trader Joe's needs to improve. So this is really valuable to the company if they don't already know this. Okay, so now, any questions about that for Mike?
I guess, sorry. Hi, Rosemary. It's Karen Henke. I just have a question about how reliable is this information? I mean, I think it's great to see it and it's nice for benchmarking, but like how is it knowing this? I guess is my question. How do we know that this is a true answer?
Yeah, Karen, it's a great
Yeah.
question. What this is actually LLM brand reflection. And so it is how LLMs will portray brands to the end consumer. And one of the things that we do is we do multi-prompting analysis and synthesis because LLMs respond differently to every time, right? So part of what Lumineer does is we use a whole series of prompts, aggregate that data, and then report it back. So it's more than just a one prompt view. You know, sometimes the LLMs get it right, sometimes they get it wrong. But as a marketer, you want to know both, and then you want to actually work to actually change that through some of the content plays and geo strategies that Rosemary talked about.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I just want to move on to our last section, which is talking about FAQ schema, which I know nobody likes to talk about. But what it basically is schema is a structured data that you add to web pages to help search engines understand and display content more effectively. So there's a lot of different types of schema. We're going to talk about FAQ schema. There are a couple of ways to do FAQ schema or FAQs. This section just talks about the schema portion of that. So the basic thing is you need to do your metadata, right? We all know about the metadata, headers, image, URLs, and metadata. And lots of this can be handled through your content management system or tools like Yoast. And then with FAQs, what we're really trying to do with FAQs is to get into the featured snippets. I think everybody knows what that looks like. And when you're trying to get into an FAQ or a schema snippet, you need to have specific answers to the question. So let me just see how this shows. So this is showing when I search for this, it's giving all the steps that I put into schema markup. And with the GPT that I wrote, you can ask it to do schema markup. It's programmed to do schema markup. I have tried to get it to do different FAQs for on-page versus schema. It has a problem following that instruction. The best way to find out what these FAQs should be is to use tools like Answer the Public or People Also Ask. But for me, the very best way is to use ChatGPT, put your content into ChatGPT and say, what questions is this answering? And ask it to also give you the answers. And you want to do this with something that's concise, 3 to 5 sentences. Like here's a great use of FAQ schema. So this is a pricing page. So there's lots of information. I mean, you really don't want to lose the user. But now you come down to their schema markup, and now there's all this information, and all of this is indexed in search engines, right? And in LLMs. So I recommend that you do both on-page FAQ and FAQ schema, because there's no reason not to. And if you have a detailed article, it's easy to figure out what those questions and answers should be. And let me just show you what they look like. So when they are in schema, they show the question, what are the key metrics? When it answers it, it says the key metrics for measuring blah are this. And we created a tool for you, and the way the tool works, and this is going to write the schema for you. So all you have to do is write, this is my question, and this is my answer. You can add all kinds of questions. All you have to do is copy that and drop that into your code. Sorry, I'm going so fast. There are different types of schema that we have to address. Now, speakable schema, it's in the US. All you have to do is run a search in ChatGPT to figure out how to add that. There are tools that allow you to do that. Voice versus, I'm going to leave that for you. How-to schema is another great schema to use on articles that are step-by-step content. And lastly, we're not going to talk about that. Okay, so that is our presentation, which we've gone through in less than an hour. Does anybody have any questions in our last 4 minutes?
Just feel free to come off mute or raise your hand or chat. And yeah, it is drinking from the fire hose. This was a lot. While we wait for additional questions, you'll see I just chatted a couple things. We will provide a link to Rosemary's slides. Is that correct, Rosemary?
Right.
Good. And I think what we'll do is we'll email that out to everyone who registered through Meetup, but it'll also be when we post this video on our YouTube playlist, it'll also be a description. We'll have a link to the slides there as well. 2 ways to get that. There's a link to our YouTube playlist there you can bookmark in the meantime. It's probably 24 to 48 hours. Our fearless leader, I think Dennis, will do the video on this one, yeah? Meanwhile, questions on the call here from Chris. How well does AI optimization convert to leads compared to SEO? That's a whole other topic, right?
Well, I guess the way I would answer that is it's too early to know, right? And because they're going primarily right now, for the data that I can see, they're going to blogs. To me, blogs aren't always the best way to generate leads. So I would say it's hard to know, but it's also, we don't know if we're writing blog posts in the best way to generate a lead, right? Until we're optimizing them for LLMs.
Very good. When will Rosemary come back and show us more? I soon think, right? Another question from Christine. I see your hand up.
Yes, Rosemary, are they reading videos and audio content?
Yes. They're reading the transcripts, right? They're reading the transcripts.
Okay, so it's only the transcript. That's my question. Are they actually
Right,
using the video, or do you have to transcribe?
No, it's already, YouTube already transcribes that.
Thanks. A quick question here. Curious about tone, how we balance conversational with authoritative. Anything to say in a minute?
Oh, I have to stop and think about
That's
that.
a lot. I know that's a lot. I see Jim has his hand up as well. If it's quick.
Yes, I'm just wondering, it sounds like we're writing for 2 audiences now. The human audience that has a short attention span at the beginning of the page, and then maybe longer later in the page where the LLM picks up information.
But if you are writing content in chunks, right, with subheads and headings and making it very easy to scan, you know, people only read what, 28% of the words on a page. So if you can at least give those markers to people so that they can get at the content they're most interested in. Let's say you have a 2,000 word blog post. They're not going to read all of that, but if you're giving them headings and they can scan down and read the part they want, I think we're writing for the same audience.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we are at time. I'd like to stay focused on ending promptly. Please chat your questions here because we will go through the chat and answer them subsequently, likely through maybe through an addendum to the slides. Again, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you, Rosemary and Brian, for all your great engagement and questions. And if you'd like to present and share your knowledge on a topic, please reach out to me. We're always looking for new community members and presenters. So thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.